Haribol, Salika Prabhu, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Please, devotees, accept our humble obeisances. All glories to Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada. All glories to our revered speaker for today, Her Grace, Mother VRAJALILA Devi, and to all the assembled Vaishnavi devotees. Devotees, as usual, we thank you for being here. And today, Tuesday, the 17th day of the last month of the year, December 2024. Very soon we're going to say goodbye to 2024. There's been lots of beautiful times and crazy times as well. But all in all, the Lord has been with us. So we're grateful, Mother Vraj. Welcome back to your own home. And without further ado, we may put the verse on the screen and you take it over from here.
Okay, thank you so much, Sahaprabhu and Salika. Thank you for this wonderful service. Haribol.
Salika.
Hi. Panuka. Okay. Hari. So I'm just going to start chanting then. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 5, text number 9. And I'll do the Sanskrit. Radhe Krishna. Yena prajanam uta atmakarma rupa bibhanam chabidam vyadhata Narayano Vishvart Atmayonir Etachano Varnaya Vipravarya. And Srila Prabhupada's translation, all the synonyms. Yena, by which, prajanam, of those who are born. Uta, as also, atmakarma, destined engagement. Rupa, form and feature. Abhidhanam, endeavors. Cha, also. Bidam, differentiation. Vyadhata, dispersed. Narayana, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Vishvashrik, the creator of the universe. Atmayoni, self-sufficient. Etat, all these. Cha, also. Naha, unto us. Varnaya, the scribe. Vipravarya, O chief amongst the Brahmanas. Srila Prabhupada's translation. O chief amongst the Brahmanas, please also describe how Narayan, the creator of the universe and the self-sufficient Lord, has differently created the natures, activities, forms, features, and names of the different living creatures. Srila Prabhupada's purport. Every living being is under the plan of his natural inclination in terms of the modes of material nature. His work is manifested in terms of the nature of the three modes. His form and bodily features are designed according to his work, and his name is designated according to his bodily features. For example, the higher classes of men are white, shukla, and the lower classes of men are black. This division of white and black is in terms of one's white and black duties of life. Pious acts leads one to take birth in a good and highly placed family, to become rich, to become learned, and to acquire beautiful bodily features. Impious acts leads one to become poor by parentage, to be always in want, to become a fool or illiterate, and to acquire ugly bodily features. Vidura requested Maitreya to explain these differences between all the living creatures made by Narayan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Om Jnana Timirandasya Gana Gana Shalakaya, Chakshur Unmilitamyena, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha, Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam, Stapitam Yena Bhutale, Swayam Rupa Kadamaya, Tadati Swapadantikam, Vandeham Shri Guru, Shri Yuta Parakamalan, Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha, Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sarabhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Pada Sahana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitamscha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namashchute Tapta Kanchana Gourangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanu Sutta Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Hare Krishna Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Shri Gaura Bhaktivinoda Haribol, dear devotees. Hare Krishna. Thank you for being here, Leela. And so many wonderful devotees, Kamaniya, Sakura Murari Prabhu, Rupanuga, Salika, of course, the organizers, Sahade, Madhuban, organizers. Thank you very much. Nice to see you guys. Haribol. So this is a very wonderful, triggering verse for conditioned souls. I read this verse and I was like, I remember when I first started reading Srimad Bhagavatam, which was around, I think, 1980. And I'm sure I saw this verse, but however, at that time, it didn't affect me in any way. It was just like, okay, here's another wonderful verse in the Srimad Bhagavatam. However, years later, as I started studying Bhagavatam more and more, certain things started standing out to me more and more as I would read. So let's look at this verse and see how we can understand the mood and mission of Srila Prabhupada. So in the beginning of this translation, the Dura is asking Maitreya to please describe how Narayan, which is Mahavishnu, the creator of the universe, the original Vishnu form of the Lord, how the self-sufficient Lord has differently created the natures, activities, forms, features, and names of the different living creatures. And so we learned from Bhagavad Gita in the 15th chapter that according to the Vedic version, the Supreme Personality, he manifests, he expands himself as we've learned by hearing these different classes every week. Every day, actually, not every week, every day. So Krishna expands himself, and he expands in innumerable expansions, of which the primary expansion are the Vishnu expansion. Sometimes that's misunderstood. Sometimes people say Krishna came from Vishnu. However, Srila Prabhupada makes it very clear that Vishnu came from Krishna. So Krishna is the original expansion, right? Krishna is the original Supreme Personality of Godhead. And from him, all these expansions are coming. And of course, the secondary expansions, which is a part of the Tatashta Shakti, are the living entities who are us. So we are, this is explained to us clearly in Bhagavad Gita. So just to break that down just a little bit, that first expansion of Krishna, of the Lord, is, as I said, Mahavishnu, Karnadaksha Vishnu. And out of him comes all of these innumerable universes and the living entities. So this is how this beginning of creation has started. What I would like to do is just go through all of the statements that are made in this purport that Srila Prabhupada is using to explain this translation. And a point I'd like to make in this translation is where there's a couple of Sanskrit words here. I just get my book, and it says here, prajanam, of those who are born. So this is living entities, those persons that have taken birth. And another word I'd like to bring to our attention from the translation is bidam, differentiation. So there's different kinds of living entities. And Srila Prabhupada will expand on that. Another point that I would like to make here is from this Sanskrit word, atma karma, destined engagement. Destined engagement. So if we keep these words of those who are born with destined engagement, that they are differentiated, they're different. And so they're dispersed all over the universe, which is created by Karnadaksha Vishnu. So let's just go through these texts one by one. And so this way we can, I'm sorry, not the text. Let's just go through the Srila Prabhupada's purport. Okay. So every living being is under the plan of his natural inclination in terms of the modes of material nature. And we understand that, again, from our scriptures. All this is explained in the Bhagavad Gita. In the introduction of the Bhagavad Gita, Prabhupada explains that material nature itself is constituted of three qualities. So here we see his work is manifested in terms of the nature of the three modes. So the mode of goodness, the mode of passion, the mode of ignorance. And then Prabhupada goes on to explain in the introduction that above the modes, there is eternal time. And by a combination of these modes of nature and under the control of time, there are activities which are called karma. So, so we want to understand a little bit about karma as we explore this purport of Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada also gives us in Bhagavad Gita 14:5, where Krishna explains to Arjuna, material nature consists of three modes, right? Again, goodness, passion, ignorance. Three modes of material nature. And when the living entity comes in contact with nature, oh mighty Arjuna, he becomes conditioned by these three modes. So if we can understand, there's the creation, there's all these universes, there are all these living entities, and within that, there's also, the living entities will become conditioned by the three modes as they enter into the material realms, right? Different material universes. And so the next point that Prabhupada makes here in this, if you can pull that up again, Saha, please, just so we can just kind of go through Prabhupada's statement. So again, it says the living entity, so just for our benefit, that according to his work, the name is designated according to bodily. His work is manifested in terms of the three modes. And again, that's explained to us in Bhagavad Gita, that according to the modes, a person is acting within those modes. So all the living entities within, let's just take this one universe. All the living entities within this universe are acting with it according to the three modes of material nature. And now the next point that is made here, which is a point that I really want to speak about today. I'm guessing this verse was chosen for me to speak on this point. I am guessing that. Anyway, so for example, the higher classes of men are white and the lower classes of men are black. Now, in our absolute pure state, as servants of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, this statement would not mean anything. It's just okay. It would just mean for us in our pure state that there are conditioned living entities that are acting in different ways according to their work and according to how they were designed in the modes of material nature. However, I'd like to kind of explore this statement from a place of understanding hermeneutics. And a few years ago, maybe a couple of years ago or a year ago or so, myself, I think Saha, you were in one of those hermeneutics classes that we studied. And because, to be honest with you, this statement in a conditioned state, and for most people in the world that are conditioned, could be very triggering because it can ignite what we're experiencing in the world today, a division of people. And so this statement could possibly perpetrate that kind of division if it's not properly understood. And I'm guessing Srila Prabhupada put it in here so we can explore this and we can try to understand it as best as we can. And that's what I'm going to try to do. So when we talk about the higher classes of people, in general, this was speaking about the Varnashram system and the original Varnashram system, where we had the Brahmanas, the Kshatriyas, the Vaishyas, the Sudras. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur coined the Varnashram system in order to help us to understand proper Varnashram as Daiva Varnashram, which simply means Varnashram that everything is dedicated to the Supreme Lord, right? The Brahmanas, they're doing everything for this, for the benefit of service to the Supreme Lord. The Vaishyas, the Kshatriyas, and the Sudras. And there were the distinctions that were made in terms of the services, the work that they offered. It wasn't made in terms of classing, putting people in classes, or it wasn't made in terms of white or black. It was made, the distinction was made in terms of the services that they offered in their varna and their ashram. So let's explore the statement. As I said earlier, from hermeneutics. First, let's explore a little bit about what is hermeneutics and even why would we want to understand this from hermeneutics. Well, the reason is because this statement, personally, I remember maybe a few years ago, statements like these were very concerning for me and others. And so a few years ago, we brought these kinds of statements to the attention of the GBC. And we had meetings about these types of statements, only because we're preachers and we're preaching to people in the world, and we're trying to help people to understand Srila Prabhupada's mood and mission and to try to understand our philosophy. So so I just gave that to give a little understanding that this is these kinds of statements that are made in the scriptures, or these kind of statements that Srila Prabhupada makes, have been explored from many different perspectives and have been explored by many different people, I being one of those persons. And Srivas was also on our committee to explore these statements. So in order for us to properly understand, we need to look at these statements through the lens of how Srila Prabhupada mood and mission in the West. What was his purpose? What was he trying to do when he came to the West? And of course, Srila Prabhupada his goal was to awaken everyone to the fact that we're spiritual beings, we're spirit souls, we're not the body. Okay, so however, because we're in this realm of conditioning, most souls are conditioned, and therefore they may not completely understand statements such as this one. So according to hermeneutics, in the lens of hermeneutics, in order to understand Srila Prabhupada's statements, we need to understand the Siddhanta, what What is the teachings of the philosophy? What is our teachings? What is our philosophical understanding? And basically, our philosophical understanding needs to have three aspects. One, it needs to be transcontextual. Transcontextual means it has the ability to create connections in the mind between things or ideas that aren't typically associated with each other. So when we look at statements like this, we look at it from the lens of, is it transcontextual? Does it create connections? Not in the material realm, not in terms of conditioned souls. No, it may not create connections. Does it typically associate with each other? Does it typically associate with each other in terms of the context? Well, in terms of the context, Vidura is asking Maitreya to share some things about how Narayan creates. Now, in this explanation, and as we read these different purports, we'll hear how Maitreya explains to Vidura, I just want to talk about spiritual things. These things are related to the body, right? So this is important to understand that in many cases, the things that we discuss in Srimad Bhagavatam, some of them, many of them are related to the material body, and this purport relates to that. So the other point is to understand whether, in terms of reading Srila Prabhupada's books from a hermeneutical perspective, is it universal? Is this statement universal? Is it existing everywhere, in everything, for everyone? No, because in proper Varnashram, in understanding Daivi Varnashram in its true sense, it wasn't based on body, it wasn't based on birth, it wasn't based on the color of the skin, right? This is a concocted understanding of Varnashram that became watered down into the caste system. And so the caste system designated people with their duties according to the color of their skin in terms of their bodies. And so this system is what this kind of perverted system is what we're a part of in most cases in all over the world, because most people are not even aware of being a Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Sudra in this age and this time. However, some of those concepts that were there, that was socially constructed in order to let the system work, those notions of this system of putting people in different castes, that's still there. That's still there within the conditioned states of human beings. And the other point, 3 points, is it needs to be eternal truth. That means it needs to be applied to all people at all times, at all truths, in all times, right? It has to be an eternal truth. So is it an eternal truth that the higher classes of men are white and the lower classes of men are black? No. Is it a universal truth? No, it's not a universal truth, because in universal truth, everything is existing everywhere, involving everyone. So it's not a universal truth. If that is the case, if we said it was a universal truth, then we would need to say that the Brahmanas were always white, which is not the case. Their bodies were always white. I mean, the system, as we understand it, even if we look at it from this bodily, physical perspective, that system of Brahmanas, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Sudra, in terms of modern day context, would have been brown people in terms of who were the Brahmanas, because we know that this system was mainly practiced in India. So it would have been brown people, not black, not white people, right? In terms of skin color being white. And the other point here is, is it transcontextual? Does it create connection in the mind? No, it doesn't. So now how do we understand this and not become offensive to Srila Prabhupada's writing this in the purport. A few things to understand. Some of it is that Srila Prabhupada students wrote quite a bit from what Srila Prabhupada said in his purports. That's something to take into consideration. Other things to take into consideration is time, place, and circumstances. When Srila Prabhupada was writing some of these purports, he also was in a time where that system, the caste system, was a part of the culture, very much a part of the culture. And again, as I said, that perverted aspect of Varnashram designated work, designated people according to the color of their skin. And as we know, during that period of time also, in India, the people were ruled by the British. And so that is also something to take into consideration. So does that make Srila Prabhupada not a bona fide spiritual master or not a very elevated, personality? No, not at all. Because all of the spiritual masters, as we have seen, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj, they've all given us knowledge that sometimes had to do with the social culture that they were living in at the time. So if we look through those lens, if we look through the lens of a social construct, something that was socially constructed as time went on for the benefit of some people, we can understand that sometimes we'll read some things that could be very much triggers. However, if we explore it, if we explore these concepts, from different perspectives, then we'll get more clarity and we'll have a more peaceful state of mind. I know, as I said for myself earlier, some time ago, not even that long ago, statements like this would have disturbed my mind. However, by Krishna's grace, Krishna arranged for me to look at these statements through the lens of hermeneutics, which helped me to process statements like this without my mind getting triggered, because my intelligence knows that that whatever is there in the scriptures is either to help us with our purification or it's help us to give us some deeper awareness about the living entities in the material world and the conditioned state. So the other point I wanted to mention here, and I don't want to stay on these points too long, but some of this is important because it's there in the state, in the purport. It's explained that the divisions of white and black is in terms of one's white and black duties of life. How do we understand that in terms of the duties of life? The duties of life, if we look at it through the lens of Devi Varnashram, the duties would be like Brahmana duty, Kshatriya duty, Vaishya duty, Sudra duty. So are we saying here, as Srila Prabhupada, is he saying the divisions of white and black is according to the duties, which means that the Sudras, they were doing the duties that was related to black duties? What exactly are we saying here? This is what exactly Srila Prabhupada wanting us to understand, helping us to understand. So ultimately, we know as devotees that these statements are meant to remind us that we're not these bodies, that we're spirit souls, that ultimately that is our goal. That is who we are. We understand that. And some of us may understand that intellectually and not really understand that in terms of our minds, because the mind, as we know, is fickle, and the mind is constantly creating disturbances. The mind is constantly distracting us, right? That's just the nature of the mind. So for those that may still live in the mind, statements like this, we need to look at it and we need to talk about it, and we need to talk about it in a way where we're not being offensive to Srila Prabhupada. At the same time, we're understanding intellectually, intelligently, how time, place, and circumstance plays a role in what we get from scriptures, in what we get within the scripture. And then we need to understand what is our Siddhanta. So for example, if I can just look at that real quickly. So what is our Siddhanta? So our Siddhanta tells us that in hermeneutics, it's explained that there are 10 tenets to our Siddhanta, or Gaudiya Vaishnava Siddhanta. And the first one is that the Lord Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And that's there, right? In this purport and other, in the translation and other translations we've read, we understand there is Krishna, and then Krishna has expansions. So Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The second is that he has his eternal, inferior, or material energy. So here we're speaking about his material energy. Vidura is asking Maitreya, how does this come about? How does Narayan creates all these things? And so we're hearing about how Narayan creates. Krishna creates the external energy, or the inferior material energy, and how the living entities interact with this inferior material energy. A third point is that Krishna also has his internal superior or spiritual energy. And we know that we are parts and parcels of that internal superior and spiritual energy. We are a part of that, right? We're a part of that in quality, but not in quantity. Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So we're a part of that. However, not in the same quantity as Krishna. That's understood. This is the fourth tenet of understanding our Siddhanta. Krishna has his parts and parcels, the living entities who are spiritual by nature. We are spiritual by nature. However, we are conditioned in a material world, and we're getting awakened. And when I say we, I'm speaking of myself. I'm getting awakened in the material world by the mercy of my spiritual master. And I'm getting an opportunity through the mercy of Srila Prabhupada to understand how I'm conditioned in this material world. And how does that work for me being a spiritual being? How does that work? So understanding my conditioning and material energy is important. And therefore, these statements, when we read them, even if it doesn't impact us, it may impact others that are still experiencing being conditioned in Krishna's external energy. So therefore, there's a need for clarification and understanding. The other point is the living entity in the spiritual world are liberated. So, of course, we know that everyone in the spiritual world, right? They're not affected by material energy. And sometimes Krishna arranges for some personalities to come into these material realms. Narayan arranges into these material realms to assist. And persons like Srila Prabhupada has come to help us, right, in these realms. Srila Prabhupada is not affected by the material energy. However, he took birth in the material energy. He's not affected by it. He took birth in the material energy, and some of his cultural perspectives may come from what was there in the material environment. Doesn't affect him as being a spiritual personality. And I think I keep trying to make that point. The Lord is simultaneously one with and different from his energies. So we know that from scripture. Krishna is one with everything. He's in everything. He's everywhere. There's nothing that's not there that's not Krishna. At the same time, Krishna is in Goloka Vrindavan. He never leaves Goloka Vrindavan. That's why in Bhagavad Gita, in 9th chapter, the 4th verse, it explains that Krishna says, how does that verse go? I am in you, I'm in me, but I am in you, but I'm not, you're not in me. Something like that. I can't remember the verse exactly. However, that verse is explaining to us that, yes, Krishna is in everything, but simultaneously he's outside of everything because he never leaves Vrindavan. Narayan does a lot of the work, right? And all the different Vishnus, they're the ones doing the work. Okay, love of Krishna is the highest goal of life. Love of Krishna is the highest goal of life. I'm making these points that's coming up, that's explaining our Siddhanta, that's explained to us through hermeneutics, so that we can look at this point that's being made in this purport to see, does it explain any of these aspects of our Siddhanta? Is it explaining anything about our Siddhanta? So to achieve love of God, one should practice devotional service. That's our Siddhanta. We're fully aware of that, right? And this knowledge can only be received to us through disciplic succession. So we can't understand it without the mercy of the spiritual master. That's the only way we can begin to understand this knowledge, which is why Srila Prabhupada has taken so much time to help us understand. So now how do we keep Srila Prabhupada's mood and mission in understanding these statements? So his mood and mission was simply to help us to understand how the Varnashram system works when it's working in its proper way, right? When it's not working in its proper way, when it's diluted, when it's perverted. There are many words that we can use for Varnashram as people practice Varnashram in modernity. However, if we understand Prabhupada's mood and mission, we understand that first he came and just helped devotees in the West to know Krishna, to try to understand Krishna, to awaken their love for Krishna. And it wasn't until Prabhupada was almost leaving his body that he said, I want to go to Gitanagari to explain Varnashram. So that's taken. Prabhupada knew that there were many different nuances that could create differences, which is why he personally said, I need to go and introduce Varnashram, which meant he wanted to introduce proper understanding of Varnashram. So in understanding these statements from hermeneutics point, we want to look at the statement that's made and understand, how does this point to Krishna? The divisions of black and white in terms of white and black duties of life. For example, the higher classes of men are white and lower classes of men are black. How does that point to Krishna? Can we come up with some ways it can point to Krishna? Well, again, the only way that it can point to Krishna is if we properly understand Varnashram, and if we properly understand how Varnashram is not working the way that it's supposed to and has not worked the way it's supposed to for quite I don't know how many thousands of years it hasn't been working, but it has not been working in terms of how we understand Varnashram. Is it consistent with our Siddhanta? No, it's not consistent with our Siddhanta. I just gave you 10 tenets of our Siddhanta, and none of those tenets can we explain these statements. So last point I want to come up with is, thank you, Kamania, is to understand these types of statements in our scriptures and to be loyal to Srila Prabhupada is to understand what is the most merciful meaning of this statement. What is the most merciful meaning? Because we know Srila Prabhupada's mood and mission is to give mercy to everyone. Srila Prabhupada's mood and mission. Of course, we know he sometimes creates cognitive dissonance. We know he sometimes, which is what he's doing in this verse, he's creating some dissonance in most people. At the same time, though, his mercy, we've seen it. We've seen it. We've seen the devotees that he took from all kinds of backgrounds. I mean, how can we say that those devotees that came from the different backgrounds, living on trees, naked, just, hippies, how can we say that they are the higher classes of people? We can only say that if we can understand that they're souls. They were the higher class of people. Everyone, all of us are higher class of people if we can look at the souls of everyone. Otherwise, no. These statements do not reflect Srila Prabhupada's mood and mission. So we need to look at the person, Srila Prabhupada, his example, and then we look at these statements and we see, do they reflect our Siddhanta? And can we explain these statements by understanding how hermeneutics work. What are some of the tenets of hermeneutics? And I would request that somebody study hermeneutics, that every one of us study hermeneutics, because there are many statements like this, and it has created, a lot of confusion for many devotees, where, as I said, personally, I became a part of a committee to really explore these kinds of statements, because I found it was, for me, it was socially indigestible. And so, in order, though, for us to really understand this, we let's go to the last point, where Vidura is requesting Maitreya to explain these differences between all the living creatures made by Narayan. Now, these differences, and we saw that in the translation, anyone that takes birth, that there are some differences. These differences that we see, I personally have not seen this explained in any of the translations in the Bhagavatam, and maybe there's scholars here that might have seen that, where those translations are, I'm sorry, yes, the Sanskrit, from the Sanskrit, from the Sanskrit and the translations, it's explained that the differences between all the living creatures made by Narayan were designated according to black and white. I've never seen that, and I'm really open to anyone, helping me to understand that. So once again, this these statements, ultimately, we are to come to a platform where we know that we're not our bodies, and these statements are made in relationship to the bodies of the conditioned souls, the work of the conditioned souls. It's not for those that are aspiring to be devotees of the Lord. If that was the case, then how would we have a spiritual master like Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj or Devarita Maharaj? They're in black bodies. So how would that be possible? So it's important to know this. At the same time, most people in the material world are on the bodily platform. And so we need to be able to explain these kinds of statements, these kinds of statements. And to be honest, what is it? Maybe 2/3 of the people on the planet are black or brown. So how do we explain this? It's important to learn how to explain these statements. So I'm gonna stop there, and I'm gonna open, because I know, like, this these statements, for those persons that are on the pure platform, these statements have no real meaning. They don't mean anything. It's like, okay, how about they're talking about conditioned souls? Yes, and that's a fact, talking about conditioned souls. At the same time, we are designated by Srila Prabhupada to assist conditioned souls. So we need to know how to explain it to them. Okay, Madhuvan Prabhu. I think, Saha, I'm turning it back over to you.
Well, Hare Krishna, thank you so much for speaking on this subject matter. I think it is by Guru Krishna's arrangement that you had to speak on this text. It was not pre-planned.
Really?
And I have some few words to say, but I will let devotees with their hands up go first, and I'll share some few things. In the first place, I very much appreciate the way you spoke on the text, because fortunately for me, I know you, and I understand a little bit about you more than probably quite a number of people here, because I am your son and I am with you, so I know you a little better. But Madhava Prabhu, please, you may unmute.
Hare Krishna, Mother.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
VRAJALILA. Hare Krishna. Very nice to see you once again on this platform.
Thank
I
you.
always get very excited when I see you. I'm always happy seeing you. Today's topic I think we have to look at it critically. First of all, what is the motive? Because looking at the question Vidura was asking Maitreya, when I read the question, I started thinking, even a professor, it's a very difficult question, which requires only an expert to explain. Because somebody asking you that, how did the Lord Narayan create the creator of the universe, created nature, activities, forms, features, and names of different living creatures. We have so many different living type of living entities, living in different places, all over the universe. So somebody asking you such a question, the person must be an expert to reply. So coming to the question of black and white, if somebody doesn't have a biased mind, then, they are trying to explain a situation whereby when the Prabhupada started, he said, for example, higher classes of men are white and the lower classes of men are black. Then going further, he said this division of white and black is in terms of white and black duties of life. So he's talking about duty. And the way I see it, maybe white duty is a pious activity, black duty is an impious activity. And he did not stop there. He now went further and said, pious acts leads to one take back in a good and highly placed family. So he has defined what the white activities are. Then, on the other hand, he now also explained the impious acts that leads one to become poor, oriented, and all. So I think if one doesn't look at the statement on a narrow perspective, if you look at it on the broad perspective, then I think we should be able to understand what La Prabhupada was making us to understand. So it's not just because on white color or black, it has nothing to do like that. He was just using a way to present it to us so that we can understand that the different classes of activity and then the result. For instance, if that impious activists want to become poor parentage, some people are born poor, you start wondering why. Then foolish, even ugly and illiterate. So I think that is just what our Guru Dev wants us to understand. It's not that one person is black. And then about Vanashram, that on the misunderstanding of Vanashram system. Vanashram system, as was defined originally, is according to one's ability or nature. Not according to one's birth. But after some time, they now turn it into a caste system, which classifies people according to a birth. So, and that's the error about the financial system. And I think Lord Chintama Prabhu has to come 500 years ago to reestablish the principle of the national system and condemn the caste system that was going on. Hare Krishna. This is my humble contribution.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing, Prabhu.
Well, Hare Krishna. Yes, Mother. Yeah, you may go ahead.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yes, I absolutely agree with what you said, Madhu and Prabhu. However, again, I am sharing these my reflections in terms of the people that may not easily understand, these points. We are very fortunate. We've been chanting Hare Krishna. We've been chanting the holy names of the Lord. So our hearts have become a little purified and we've become a little awakened to our true nature. However, there are billions of people in the world that have not had this great fortune. And in wanting to be compassionate to the living entities on the planet, it's important because when we give a book of Srila Prabhupada to someone, if we're not there physically to explain these themes, then someone could just put the book aside when they read something like this. because they may not have the Sukriti, right? And so I remember there's a spiritual master that I know, and when somebody would come new to the temple and they would ask questions, you know, not even these type of questions, but just real questions, just other basic questions, that spiritual master would say, just chant Hare Krishna. Just chant Hare Krishna. If you chant Hare Krishna, you'll begin to understand. Just keep chanting Hare Krishna. And I always would think about that. And I would think, but however, you know, okay, that is our process. And that's a fact. If we chant Hare Krishna, if we chant the Lord's name, our hearts will awaken and we will understand. Or we will understand duties and what duties mean. However, for somebody that has not been chanting, does not have awareness of this, what they see duties as being a Sudra. And I don't know about you, Madhavan Prabhu, but I've been going to India since 1979. And I've seen how Sudras were treated. Not very nice. And in most cases, Sudras' bodies were Black. And so in many cases, not in all cases, there's some parts of North India where people are labeled, you know, Sudras, but they may not have Black bodies, but in most cases. And I didn't understand, you know, when I first went there, because I have no understanding of that. However, as I would go every year, I would begin to understand more. And I understood that it was a part of the system and how it was set up according to the duties, right? The duties of a Sudra is to do what? What is the duties of a Sudra, Madhavan Prabhu?
The duty of a Sudra is to work for others, maybe for Vaishyas, and is to work for others.
Yes, the duty of a Sudra is to work for the other Varnas, the other ashrams, right? However, the thing about that duty is that in understanding Daiva Varnashram and understanding Varnashram in its true sense, when someone is working for another person or working in another situation, the focus and the goal is for Krishna. That was the focus of duties. Any duty was for Krishna. As Varnashram became misunderstood or misapplied or just became more toxic, if you will, then that duty that was once an offering to the Supreme Lord, where that person was treated with grace and with mercy, became distorted. And it wasn't like that anymore. And so it's important to understand Krishna gave us the perfect system. That is a fact, with perfect duties. However, we are conditioned souls that are imperfect by nature, and the tendency is to exploit other people. And so it's important to be aware of this, because, you know, you're in a Black body, and if you go and you tell somebody, well, you know, according to the duty, you know, it's understood that, you know, I'm a lower class because of my Black body. I don't think that would work so well. No, I'm not sure of that. Yeah. So in any case, I'm not wanting to keep this. I don't want to focus us on a bodily platform, because the Srila Prabhupada's mood and mission is to take us out of the bodily platform. And so I absolutely agree with you, Madhavan Prabhu. However, I was listening to a class today, and there was a devotee speaking this morning about how this devotees, how there's a qualification for disciples. And one of the qualifications of disciple is to lose their intelligence. Krishna gave us intelligence, you know, so that we can use our intelligence. And so therefore, when we use our intelligence to ask questions and to express our doubts and our concerns, and to find ways to properly understand, because, you know, ultimately we're spirit souls. We're not a part of material energy. We are aware of that. At the same time, though, we know material energy isn't really real, not really in one sense. However, you know, there are many people in the world that are not fortunate like us. Yeah. So thank you for sharing that. Thank you.
Well, Hare Krishna, thank you so much for the comment and the answer. Gold Prabhu will come to you in a minute, but some devotees were having difficulty catching all the words coming from His Grace Madhavan Prabhu, because I shared with him some time ago that oftentimes he would have poor connection. Therefore, when he has this video and audio both working at the same time, his audio sometimes kind of breaks up. But I wish I were somewhere any close to Shukadev Goswami. yeah, okay. Yeah, Shukadev Goswami, who was asked like 30 questions at a time. And he was able to remember them all and answer them all. So I'm nowhere close. So I can't remember everything Madhavan Prabhu said, but if I may put it in a capsule, what Madhavan Prabhu was saying is that if someone takes what Srila Prabhupada is saying on a very superficial manner, then that individual is going to see colors. But if one goes beyond that, Srila Prabhupada was not speaking about colors. So he was talking about the caste system, where Srila Prabhupada says it's not color, but it's by deed, it's by activity, action. And I think Mother VRAJALILA got much of what Madhavan Prabhu was saying, so she answered accordingly to his comment and question. So thank you, devotees, and thank you, Madhavan Prabhu. So now we go to His Grace Gaul Prabhu. Please, you may unmute. Hare Krishna. Hare Bol.
Hare Krishna, and thank you, Mother, for the class. I just want to build on your the theme of this black and white. It can, sometimes it can sound a bit apologetic, so we need to get away from that, and as you say, from the physical view of this. I mean, the way I look at it, it's a topic, but it's easier for me to digest and understand when after all, we're talking about souls. So white, I treat it as an illuminated soul, and black as an unilluminated soul. And so we can have a white soul in a black body, or vice versa. You get my point. I mean, not to talk about yellow souls and Chinese and Oriental bodies and this and that. So I think we should not focus too much on this color system rather than the illumination, of it. I don't know. That's my takeaway.
Thank you, Gold. That's a wonderful and a beautiful takeaway. Yes, absolutely beautiful, because ultimately our souls probably have many different colors. I don't know if we can take colors out of the equation altogether. Krishna has a color, and Krishna's associates have colors, and colors is very much a part of the spiritual paradigm. However, our perception of colors may need to be changed. And what I am addressing is the perception of colors in the material energy of the Lord that's created by imperfect human beings. And and the only reason I'm speaking about that. Generally, I love to talk about illumination of who we are. However, this was the verse today. And so because of this verse today, there was a need to reflect on this point. Sometimes go in this world, because it's so painful. It's so miserable at times. And people suffer so much. And we don't like to face the realities of this, because it's painful. It's painful to see people suffering, isn't it? And so therefore, when we have to face these things in the world, it's hard, and I get it totally. It's difficult. And so then we just think, well, but I'm a spirit soul, and I'm light, and I'm wonderful, and I'm beautiful, and we're all those things. Yes, we have our colors are, bright lights in the spiritual world, right? beautiful colors we all have. It's like Lord Ramachandra was green, beautiful colors. However, this in this world, we do, if we want to help people, if we want to be compassionate with people, then we need to come down to where they are and try to reach them where they are, because that's just the world we live in. Yeah.
Well, Hare Krishna, thank you so much, Mother, and God Prabhu, thank you so much. I had said that I know Mother VRAJALILA, our precious speaker for today, a little bit more than lots of us here, because she is actually my mom. And the reason Mother spoke the way she spoke is because it is a problem for a lot of people, up to the point that some people, when I say people, I mean devotees, not people devotees distribute books to, and maybe they read and they do not practice anything. But those who have even taken initiation and are devotees become very much disturbed by statements like what we read today. But that is like what Madhavan Prabhu said and what Gol Prabhu said. That is far away from what Srila Prabhupada meant. So what we're going to try to do is we're going to put the verse back on the screen. And I see there are 2 hands up, but we'll come to you. So Srila Prabhupada stated here, every living being is under the plan of his natural inclinations in terms of the modes of material nature. His work is manifested in terms of the nature of the 3 moods. His form and bodily features are designed according to his work, and his name is designated according to his bodily features. For example, the higher classes of men are white, Shukla, and the lower classes of men are black. Throughout the purport, there is no single place where the word color appears. So Srila Prabhupada is not talking about colors. He is not talking about pigmentation. Srila Prabhupada is talking about qualities. And so I see Gol Prabhu is here. He is from England. So I would like to point to, we have, in the US, we have Black Friday. In the UK, there is Black Friday, that is 1873. It is, of course, that is Vienna. And then there is also Black Friday in England on 1910, where women activists suffered from police brutality. And because of this suffrage, it is termed as Black Friday. Black Friday because people suffered. Sometimes somebody may say that, oh, I have you in my white book. It means that I have you on the positive side. Sometimes somebody will say, I have you in my black diary. It means you did something that he's not happy with. It has nothing to do. And therefore, if we go back to the purport, Srila Prabhupada explains further that this division of white here, this division of white and black is in terms of one's white and black duties of life. And that's what Mother was saying. What do we mean by white and black duties? White duties means that you're doing something to elevate people. Black duties means that you're doing something to dampen people, to cause pain to people. And then, therefore, we have pious. White means pious. And therefore, Srila Prabhupada says, pious acts lead one to take birth in a good and highly placed family, to become rich, to become learned, and to acquire beautiful bodily features. Then black. means impious act. So what Srila Prabhupada is talking about is qualities. But what many mundane and troubled devotees will understand what Srila Prabhupada is saying here will be the caste system, where if someone is a lighter skin, he is more intelligent. Of course, we know Vyasadeva, if we're talking about skin, Vyasadeva is black. Vyasadeva, the compiler of the Vedas, is black, skin color. Lord Krishna himself is called Shamsundra, but that is not what Srila Prabhupada is talking about. But it has caused and it continues to cause a lot of problem. That is why Mother tried to stress on these things, that if someone is suffering from these things, try to elevate yourself above that, because we are getting ourselves out of the bodily system to the spiritual platform. So we thank you, and we go to Bhakta Hassan. Please.
I think Kamania had her hand up before Hassan. However, I want to make a point. No, Kamania.
Okay, please, go ahead.
As I see your hand is still up, Kamania. You might want to pull it down then. Your hand is up. Okay.
Yes,
I just
off to Bhakta Hassan.
Oh, okay. All right. So I want to make a point before either one of you speak, because it's important that we understand that the world Srila Prabhupada grew up in is very different from the world today. Very, very different, right? Where Srila Prabhupada grew up, probably at that time, even maybe in the caste system, the people were not treated. I that's not so long ago, so I don't know about that. I don't like to speculate. However, maybe they were not treated, in the ways that I've seen people in the caste system treated over in the last, since 1980. Many things that were politically correct and socially encouraged and even said to be scientifically true are just the opposite today from some of the things Srila Prabhupada has mentioned in his Amabis reports. But what we have to keep in mind is that not everything Srila Prabhupada said or even wrote in his books is our Gaudiya Vaishnava Siddhanta. Some things are pointing to our Gaudiya Vaishnava Siddhanta, and we got to take those things, those details of those things, and try to understand them and try to understand what Srila Prabhupada's mood and mission is. That's what's important in understanding verses like this. And so the reason I brought hermeneutics is because it's important to know if they're not transcontextual, if those points that are, those details points that are not our Siddhanta, if they're not transcontextual, if they're not universal, if they're not eternal, then they're not applicable. We can read them, and we need to probe into them and try to understand them, because we don't want things to be taken out of context, for sure. So thank you, Saha, for bringing those points. I really appreciate that. Okay, Bhakta Hassan.
Hare Krishna, thank you. So Bhakta Hassan, please, you may unmute.
Hare Krishna, Mother. Please can you accept my respectful obeisances? All glory to Gurudev, all glory to Srila Prabhupada, and all glory to wonderful assembled devotees. I'm very happy to see your lotus feet, Mother. And thank you for the, thank you for the wonderful class.
Hare Krishna. Well, maybe we can see you, Hassan Prabhu. We can see your lotus. Is it feet or face?
Yes, I want to ask the question, and I'll show my face. Yes, thank you for the wonderful class. My question based on two things about white and black and white and time and circumstances. But I want to just a short story before I ask the question. Many years ago in Libya, when black people, Africans go there to work, they started to maltreat them because they are black. So they started, sometimes they throw stones at them and maltreat them. So for them to stop, Gaddafi come up with a story and tell them that a time will come, their land will become, all their land will become like there will be no land for cultivating. All their land will be petrol. So if this time comes, they have to go to the Africans to plant food. So the people they are maltreating in the future, they are going to help them. He said this to help the people to treat black people's right, but that is not true. And at the same time, he come out with the story that normally the Libyan people, because they have some tea which they drink, which make their teeth very brown. And he come out with a story that you see these black people, when they come here, you see that their teeth are white because in their country, they don't have food to eat. They are poor people. So even if they work for you, you have to give them food. And they accepted that, and they are, even if we work for them, they give you food. So my question is, if it's come to guru and disciple relationship, out of ignorance of the disciple, can the guru, if Gaddafi happens to be a guru, is it right to give such instruction because of time and circumstances for the ignorant disciple to do the right thing? This is my question, Mother. Hare Krishna.
Honorable Hassan, I was with you all the way until you asked the last part of your question. So for clarification, would you kindly repeat that last part about the guru, disciple, and the guru giving instruction? What instruction?
So what I'm trying to say is that, can a guru give instruction due to time and circumstances for the devotee out of his ignorance to do the right thing, even though this instruction is not from the scripture? Because, for instance, this instruction, later you find out that, oh, African people, they are not poor people, or they are not eating because of their teeth are white. But at the same time, giving them food is like charity. You are doing the right thing. So can a guru come out with something like that? And for disciple to follow that instructions? Is it the right thing for a guru to do?
Okay, I'm going to probe a little more. When you said a guru, are you speaking about the statement that we're reading now, this verse that we're reading now, or are you speaking of a guru, another guru in a specific situation?
A specific situation, because due to some circumstances, maybe a guru will come out with some instructions to help the disciple, though it was not from the scripture.
Dr. Hassan,
Yes.
excuse me, to help us understand your question better, will it be okay for you to give a vivid example? Like, for example, if you give an example that the spiritual master, based on time, place, circumstances, wanted to help a particular disciple. So this disciple was unable to please his mother because his mother wanted fish. And the spiritual master said, well, this is an ignorant devotee. I'm going to try to help him. So I'm going to let him give his mother fish, and then later on I'll help him. Something like that.
Yes, something like that.
Is that what you mean?
Yes, something like that. Yes, please.
Oh.
So forgive me, because sometimes when I'm asking the question, I become a little bit nervous. So
it's okay. Okay, so
forgive me.
So Madam Raj, I think the bottom line is, his question is, can a spiritual master, in a way of, I would say it's like flattery or something like that, just to please the disciple, would ask him to do something, while the spiritual master also believes that if the disciple does what he's asked him to do, he will eventually do the right thing. But the very moment the spiritual master asks him to do whatever he asked him to do, is not shastric. It's not from the scriptures. Is it?
Yes, 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 yes.
Is it really good or something like that? That's his question.
Yes, thank you, Your Grace. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
I think I understand, and please, I hope this answer. You know, in the Bhagavad Gita, in the 10th chapter, in the 32nd verse of the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna speaks this, he makes this point to Arjuna. He says, among logicians, I am Vada. And Vada means understanding the conclusive truth. It means we need to question our own understanding. And it means to do that in a way that is complementary, kind of not creating more disturbance, which is why, you know, we're trying to understand Srila Prabhupada's purport so that we can better grasp why this word black and white are here in this purport, like the way it is. So I cannot say why a spiritual master would give a disciple an instruction. Guru-disciple relationship is very special. And sometimes disciples may hear from the guru in terms of hearing with the mind, as opposed to with their spiritual intelligence. And so I could not say a guru is inappropriate or not, you know, that he shouldn't do whatever, because I don't know. I don't know what is in the guru's heart when he connects with his disciple, with his or her, he or her, the guru, because now they're women guru, whether they're in their heart, whatever they're saying is to assist the disciple. However, it's the disciple's duty. It's important for the disciple to be able to ask questions according to their understanding, with an openness, not to prove the person wrong, but to really go to the truth, to the absolute truth, which is our Siddhanta. To understand is the Guru, we have Sadhu, what is Guru Sadhu Sastra? Guru Sadhu Sastra is what the Guru is saying related to the Sastra, is what the Guru is saying exemplified by other sadhus. And to be able to have a relationship with the guru that if in our own understanding, it doesn't make sense, that we can question the guru. That's very important. It's not offensive to question the guru if it's done in the proper way, which is if we read this verse, I think it's Bhagavad Gita 4:34, Tadvidi paripatena paripashena sevaya upadeshanti jnanam jnananastapadashanaha. If we approach the spiritual master in a mood of submission and sincerely wanting to inquire, then the spiritual master, you know, will direct the disciple. Sometimes spiritual masters may appear to give instructions that a disciple's mind might find harsh. I've experienced that in my own journey as a disciple. So, you know, but however, I may learn later that exact instruction was what I needed to grow spiritually, you know? So yeah, it's difficult to answer that question, Bhakta Hassan Prabhu. However, what's important is for you to be a sincere disciple and for you to really understand what are the qualities of a sincere disciple. And because the Lord is within your heart, the Lord will direct you. And again, it's important to have a relationship with the spiritual master that you can ask questions. That's important.
Yes, thank you so much, Mother, and thank you, Your Grace, for helping me out. Thank you.
Thank you
It's
so
kind of
much.
a big rescue.
Thank you, Bhakta Hassan Prabhu. Bhakta Hassan, you're gonna get spiritually elevated just because you are how can I say, you are blessed with being able to speak kind and sweet words. So Krishna sees that.
Thank you, Mother. Thank you so much for your blessing. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Mother Kamani, please, you may unmute. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much. I've
For
missed you.
some reason, I thought of you yesterday, Mother Kamania, because we were reading and your name appeared in one of the readings.
Oh, wow.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you. I've missed these sanghas. I find this Hare Krishna Africa Sangha to be very inspiring. I always find the questions and the comments to be very profound, and yeah, they very sincere devotees in this sangha. So I've missed attending. Thank you, Mother VRAJALILA. I miss you too.
Miss you. I miss you for the last 3 weeks.
No, I've been so busy with service. Thank you.
Yes, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Please come back. Please come back.
Yes, yes. This Friday I'm there.
Okay.
So I didn't know what the verse would be today, and I find such statement challenging, and I'm in a very white body. Yeah, and regarding such statements that are felt by many to be controversial, I find it personally challenging that it seems to take many words to explain to a layperson what Srila Prabhupada's mood is, what he means with such statements. And like Gul Prabhu said, sometimes it can sound a bit apologetic, and people may feel like we're being a little evasive. I remember myself when I was new to ISKCON, I was quite turned off by certain statements of Srila Prabhupada's. And then over the years, I came to, hear what the context is. So this is a personal challenge of mine, and I suppose a duty of mine that I should become adept at, first of all, deeply understanding what Prabhupada meant, and then being ready to explain in as few words as possible actually what he means. And did I understand correctly from the conversations that were happening that Prabhupada, when he talks about white and black, he's talking in terms of light and dark, let's say forces or energies, as in pious and impious, not as in good and evil, because I really struggle with this black is evil, white is good. This is something I've struggled with over the years. But if I hear it in terms of light and dark, well, yes, light is, let's say, white. Black is, let's say, dark, as in light and shadow. Did I understand that correctly?
Haribol Kamania Prabhu, I didn't make that statement. I don't know if anyone did. However, that is a wonderful way to look at that black and white.
I think I said something like that. I said something like that, yes, indeed, because I was going step by step in Srila Prabhupada's purport, where Srila Prabhupada likened white to piety and black to impiety. White pious, black impious. And I saw somebody also wrote in the chat box where it says blacklisted.
Yes, I wrote that.
Okay, you wrote that. Yeah, good. So blacklisted means that somebody did something that was not very favorable. So we put him in that category. It does not mean the color of the individual. It's just the behavior, the character, the attitude. And if one, like Madhava Prabhu was saying, if one takes his time to read the purport, one will come to understand that Srila Prabhupada was not making reference to color, because there was no single point in time where Srila Prabhupada did mention color. But if we type in white in any bona fide dictionary, it will give you so many different adjectives as to how white is being used. So someone may say that his face turned white or his face turned black, meaning that somebody was trying to tell lies, or somebody was speaking the truth, or someone will say, I'm going to make this whiter than the white, or whiter than a white, meaning that I'm going to make it better. And I believe, like in most African countries, when someone has a legal case, goes to the court and wins the case, they throw white powder on him because he's become victorious. It's a sign that, okay, this is a victory. So that is what Srila Prabhupada was referring to. And like Mother Vraj, I'm sorry I'm taking so much of your time, but like what Mother Vraj was saying, there are many things which appear controversial that were stated by Srila Prabhupada, but actually they were not stated by him. He was just repeating the scriptures. The scriptures mention that a woman should always be protected by somebody. And somebody may say Srila Prabhupada is maybe looking down on women, or so like this statement of black and white. My guru is black. Mother Rukmini is a lady, is in a female body. Can anyone point at any point in time where Srila Prabhupada was treating his devotees, disciples based on color or gender? No way, nobody can. So Srila Prabhupada was just repeating what is in the scriptures. But like Mother Kamania, you saying, sometimes it makes it quite difficult to use much lengthy words to explain something simple that has been said. Because what Srila Prabhupada said here is very simple. But because of what's going on in the world now, it's become a headache for us as devotees to explain it to people. Because if we don't, people are going to lose faith. So this is the challenge.
So,
Yes, it takes time to explain context.
It does.
Wondering
Yeah.
to Mother VRAJALILA if you have any.
Madam VRAJALILA, so please.
You have
Yeah,
any
and
issues with that
I
challenge?
see Leela's hand and Ananji and also
And then
yes,
Govinda. Yes.
yeah, Govinda
Yeah.
Prabhu. Yes,
mine's, oh,
Please,
sorry.
Mother VRAJALILA.
yeah, we still have a couple of people before you, Govinda Prabhu.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
Madam Kamania, please go ahead.
I was hoping Mother VRAJALILA could share something on my question.
Yeah, Mother Right. Okay.
All right. Well, Govinda, are you in an emergency situation that you must speak now? 'Cause
Yeah,
if you are-
mine is really, really quick. What I was about to say is that I've never seen a white human being before. So when you say this person is white, and I've never seen a black human being before, when you say someone is black, so will you help me to understand who is that white? You see, calico is white. You know what color white is, and I've never seen a human being with that color like a calico. So when you say white and black like charcoal, I've never seen a human being as black as charcoal, and that is the black color, and calico is a white color. We have a white paint, and I've never seen a human being with that kind of color. So why do we refer this black and white to a human color? I've never seen a human being who is white. I mean, that is my dilemma. If you can help me understand that.
Okay, so in relation to what Kamania asked and what you're sharing,
Exactly.
that's a detail that you could use as an explanation for someone that is reading this purport and might not understand. You may use that example, and perhaps if you have a relationship with that person, they may accept your explanation. However, for someone you don't have a relationship with, and someone that is in a conditioned state of consciousness, that they may not accept that explanation, right? Because when we talk about white and black in the context of how all of us are socially constructed, we all use that reference in reference to people. And when we talk about white and black, especially in this context that Prabhupada is speaking, the duty of a white person is like this. The duty of a black person is like this, right? So it again to keep our integrity with Srila Prabhupada, it's not that because we are discussing this topic and we're discussing it from different perspectives, that we're in any way questioning Srila Prabhupada's devotion or who Srila Prabhupada is as a spiritual master. We're simply opening up topics like this for open discussion so that we can be able to discuss it with people when we come with them, and we don't hold a perspective that, well, there's, and I'm just going to use Govinda's explanation. I've never seen a white person, I've never seen a black person, but within that person's conditioning, they may think, well, all my life I've been called a black person, you know? So, you know, explain that to me, right? So I'm just,
Yeah.
again, I'm just opening this up for us to discuss this in a way that we can intelligently and also cooperatively understand some of these themes. And in no way is this in no way minimizing who Srila Prabhupada is, in no way. And so in terms of what Kamaniya Prabhu is sharing, in that context of what Saha, I believe Saha said, he mentioned that. Saha, you mentioned, right?
Yes.
Pious,
pious.
Yeah. And that's, like I said, it's very beautiful to look at it like this, pious. But again, we come back to this statement that many things that were politically, socially correct is just not correct anymore, right? It was politically and it's politically and socially correct. Even scientifically, it's not correct anymore. Even science is changing now. So really, we got to see, like, do these statements that perhaps had, according to hermeneutics, is it universal? Is it a universal truth? Is it applicable in all times, in all places, and to all people? Can we say that this kind of statement is you know, for all people, even though we don't hear the word people in there, in the context of the world, somebody will read that and think a person, right? They will think, how the Hare Krishnas are defensive because they're not addressing that statement. So all we're saying is, as Hare Krishnas, we need to address the statement in a way that can be palatably received from people that are very conditioned. So yes, that's one way that what Kamaniya said, to look at it from pious deeds, the pious activities that a person does. And we know in Bhagavad Gita, that's also explained, right? That in the last part of that purport, Prabhupada said, according to our pious deeds, this is what's going to happen. According to our deeds that are not pious, this is what's going to happen. So that's what Krishna tells Arjuna. So that's an absolute truth. That's our Siddhanta. So we understand that. At the same time, we need to be able to explain, you know, when the points that are made in terms of using those words, black and white. That's important in our social context today. And yes, we're not a social context organization, right? I mean, we're spiritual. However, our Prabhupada's mood and mission is for us to go out and help people in the world. That's his mood and mission. And that's why it's important for us to be able to look at all these different perspectives and see how you know, maybe in Kamaniya's social context, she meets someone, they will understand it from her perspective. Maybe in Govinda's social context, they may understand it from his perspective. All of us need to find ways that we can explain these statements because it's open, it's left open. Okay.
So we have Lila. Lila is lost and found lady. She was lost, but she is found. And we are happy to have your association here today, Mother Lila. Please, you may unmute. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, and my obeisances to all the devotees assembled here. VRAJALILA, thank you so much. I feel so fortunate to know you. I really appreciated the you giving the historical perspective and the tenets of our Siddhanta so that we can examine anything that we hear, and it you know, it empowers us. And also the idea you're pushing for us to be educated in how we explain these things. I was thinking from a personal perspective, and also from a perspective of communication, how this fits in. And one thing is that to have the humility to say, Dear Prabhupada, I don't understand what you're saying here. I don't understand what you mean. But to come with that mood of help me understand, to get into a conversation, into a dialogue with him, which seems a little bit more difficult than if he were here physically and we can just ask him. So we just need to go a little bit deeper, a little bit more introspective, a little bit more meditative, and then we can get the answers because he is available to us. But I was thinking about how misunderstandings and conflicts come up. You know, when I'm hearing something from someone says something to me, most of the time, you know, unless and I try to be aware, I'm on the defense. We're looking for someone to offend us, you know, for the wrong thing, and just we're like ready to jump on it. When we love someone, when we trust them, and when we feel safe with them, there's a little bit more space of like, okay, I don't know what you just said, and I don't know what you meant by what you just said, but we have a little bit more facility to hear and inquire. And I was just meditating on how it is so with Prabhupada. I can think, okay, I trust Prabhupada. I do. Because I know he is the well-wisher of all of us, and he is our friend. And so when I hear something that I don't understand what he's meaning right away, I can just remember, okay, this is my friend, and let's have a conversation, rather than getting on the defensive right away, whether it's this comment or any other comment that he's made. And so I was just thinking about the importance of that, of remembering that this is a trusted friend and I don't understand, rather than immediately giving it meaning, and then the conflict begins, whether it's internal or with another person. Yeah, I think I just wanted to share that because it's helpful. It's helped me at least take a step back and before I get defensive, okay, I don't understand what's being said here. Let me inquire. And then we have Guru Sadhu Shastra, and that saved me from, you know, just understanding, hearing what I want to hear, whether it's listening to Prabhupada or any other relationship. You know, someone says something and immediately I'm imagining what it means before I ask what it means. And next thing you know, I've got a conflict in my mind, and then, you know, I've got an enemy image in our mind, and the Bhagavad Gita says that's not going to lead to anywhere good. So I wanted to mention that. And then, yeah, I just really appreciated where you took it and the different contexts. And the last thing I'll mention is that my understanding is we do have to put these things into context. And the transcontextual that you mentioned, there are so many. There's the literal context, you know, is something being said literally? Is there a historical context, or is there a contemporary context? And it's very easy for us to judge a historical context and say, well, they should have known better. A lot of the things that have happened in our history were within the law, within the moral law of the time. And so it's easy for us to say, well, that was wrong. They should have known. Why did they do it that way? But we have to put ourselves into those shoes of people in a different time, in a different culture. 200 years from now, what we do today, it's socially acceptable, it's acceptable by the legal system and many other things. But 200 years from now, someone will be like, what were they thinking? Why did they do that? Because they'll have a different understanding. So I just wanted to, I guess, advocate for not jumping into a judgment first. And I'm speaking to myself because that's usually what I'll do. Get defensive, right? Defending. But to have maybe a little bit more willingness to be curious and inquire. What was it really like for them, you know, or anyone at that time, or even a week ago? Why did they really do that? What was going on for them? What did they believe and understand and consider at that time? And that will give us a little bit more space to perhaps avoid jumping into conflict, which seems to be like the thing the mind wants to do the most, like a pastime of the mind. And all these things, if any of it's helpful, is all these things that I've learned from VRAJALILA, who's shared her wisdom on conflict resolution and communication over the years. So thank you very much. And I've missed this Sangha so much. I've missed all of you, so many dear friends here. So Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Lila Devi. We
Thank
miss
you,
you
thank you,
dearly.
thank you, Leela.
We miss
Thank
you
you.
dearly. Yes. Hare
Yes. I just want to make a couple points about what Leela says, and I see we have two other persons.
Yes.
Yeah, because this is what hermeneutics have done. You know, the Sastra Advisory Committee of ISKCON found a need to bring hermeneutics into our institution just to help us to understand some of these things that Srila Prabhupada has said. And a couple of things that Leela was saying, which is really important, is that by understanding some of these purports through the medium of hermeneutics, it helps us to accommodate cultural and intellectual diversity. And it also helps us to resolve conflicts in a positive way within the boundaries of keeping Srila Prabhupada's integrity. So thank you, Leela. It also, because what you're doing is to help us to create unity amongst the devotees. And that's the whole point of reading these kinds of verses, is looking at it, as you said, you know, from a perspective where we're not judgmental. At the same time, we have intelligence to kind of explore, learn from others, and, you know, try to see how we can integrate within our spiritual lives something that can be meaningful and not on the other side of just wanting to be conflictual. Okay, thank you.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much. Mother, we have two hands up, but before we go to them, one quick thing I would like to say. Govinda Prabhu's question and your answer is like a playback. It's like a deja vu to me, because it happened to me. I was writing an essay one time in my college, and I said, in reality, do we have any human being called white? Do we have any human being black? No one has white color. No one has black color. And I have to give my paper to, we had people who helped with students writing their essay, making their essays come out good before it gets to the instructor. And there was one lady who was helping me. She says, Jarvis, did you write this? I said, yes. She says, oh, come on. What you're saying may be right, but that is not what society says. So society says this person is white, this person is black. So that is what we go by. And that is just what you said. So yes, I may not be as black as charcoal, but when I'm filling a paper, they will ask of my race, and I have to answer, say, black. So that's how it is. Anadi Nidanam Prabhu.
I just want to say one thing, Sahal. My
Okay,
god sister, our god sister Kunti Devi told me this recently, this past time.
Yeah.
Now, we may never have seen a white person in terms of the color that we see on this screen, right? We may never have seen that. However, Kunti told me she was in the store one day in Maryland, and she said, I saw this woman, and she said she was black, VRAJALILA, like black, like we say charcoal black. And she said, I've never in my life, and she comes from Ethiopia, I've never in my life seen someone black like this. So there are people on this planet that are black. I don't know about white.
Yeah, but thank you. Anadi Nidanam Prabhu, please you may unmute.
Sadhu Prabhu, I see Isma Vara Prabhu sounds up, so I think you have to go to him first.
Oh, okay. Shumavara Acharya, please you may unmute. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Anadi Nidanam Prabhu.
Jai Hare Krishna Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. I am driving. Please excuse my voice and the noise at the background. But my battery may go up soon, so I want to quickly contribute something before maybe I will be pushed out. I'm driving and I may not have the means to charge my battery. So
Okay.
Anyway, I thank you all very much for the discussion, and I particularly love some of the, of course, Mother VRAJALILA, giving us the uh, encapsulated, how we should see this. But I love the way Mother Kamania was being frank, about being effective, and what Mr. Bull said about being apologetic. And then I also love the way Mother Lila kind of put all that into a very nice context. And thank you all for the wonderful discussions. I really don't like being evasive, and I don't like being apologetic. And I also have a problem, when you are, for those who will be translating these books into other languages, especially into African language, we're going to have big problems. Like I already translated the Bhagavad Gita, and there are certain passages I come across that I just don't know how to say that in my language because it will throw people off. So I think that if I that's afraid, accepting the truth and then asking, what could this mean? No, in fact, I will accept the truth that this is how society says things.
We're missing him.
Shubhara is breaking up.
This money. There's no doubt about it. But the Prabhupada went ahead and explained them in terms of finance and infight. So that may also be too much for some people, like Mother Kamani has said, seeing good things, seeing certain things as white, good things white, and black, and bad things evil and black. That is also difficult for some people to swallow. But then there's no need to be evasive. This statement has been made, and society in general sees it in the literary sense. So I think that ISKCON, like most of the problems that are there in the book changes, and some of the solution offered is to have a footnote that actually explain these things if you don't want to expunge them altogether. Because in the future, surely this may give more problems. There's no doubt about it. We can explain to those who come to us, but those who will never come to us, reading them and want to go by what society say about these things, they will throw our books away. There's no doubt about it. In fact, I think once I had my Guru Dev also saying some things, that some of the things in Prabhupada books, if you take them to scholars and to universities, they will just not accept them. So some of these things, I mean, my Guru is always been frank, and I heard him saying that very clearly, that some of the things in Prabhupada books, if you take them to scholars, into academic circles, some of these books, they will just throw them away, they will not accept them. So, I mean, we don't have to be evasive and be apologetic. The fact is there that the world sees things in this way. But the good things about it is that the teachings of Prabhupada in general, like Mother say, our Siddhanta, in general, it does not, hamper our black and white or bodily pigmentation. So that is the beauty. We have to see, everything in the bigger picture. We have to see everything in the bigger picture. So anyway, I don't want to hold you, but I just want to contribute something. But I love the very fact that devotees are here on this platform who are very frank and, facing the truth as it should be, without being evasive, without being apologetic, and then, saying, yes, this is how it is, but, that's not how it should be. And, but there are other parts of that same statement that explain something better. Yeah. And that goes with the overall teachings of Prabhupada. Thank you. That's how I want to say. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Shimavara Prabhu. See, Mother Raj, your class is attracting so much questions and comments, and I find such classes to be the best of the best. So we go to Mitravinda. And then we'll go to Rupanuga, then we'll come to Anatunidam if we still have time. Mitravina Devi, please you may unmute. Mitravinda, are you still there?
She's at work, so sometimes she's not able to come
Okay.
right off.
So we go to Rupanuga. Rupanuga Luke.
Hare
Yes.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much for such an amazing presentation, Mother VRAJALILA. And thank you very much for all the devotees. I just want to share that, the points that Mother VRAJALILA made about the 10 aspects, if we take that into consideration, it is a safe space for us to share in the Krishna Katha. The thing is, what we're sharing is how we see our juggling of having a mental balance. That's how I see it. But however, the thing that I want to say is that, we don't need to try and think too much about the future. Lord Shri Krishna say, I am time. So we must be present in the present. And what we need to do is just to do our best. Our best might not be good enough when we look back tomorrow, or when we do look back at what we did yesterday. We say, I should have, could have. Okay, I didn't do that. It's fine. If we do our best and we surrender to the best of our ability and try our best, Lord Shri Krishna puts us in a situation. All these things that are being presented is okay. It is okay for us to think and to talk about it as a safe area for us to share. However, when we go out there, we must just go out there and having the faith and doing the service, and we do our best. Krishna does the rest. It's not, it's not as tough as we think it is. Actually, the main thing is not to think too much about it, it's just to show up and to do what we need to do. It's not about, this one is going to say that because you're saying it's about black and that. It is actually, truth being told, is a permutation of all these things. We are not these bodies. We are in these bodies. We are eternal spirit souls in the bodies. That is basically, and based on that spectrum of we are not these bodies and our mental state, it is a permutation of all those things. So if we think too much and we overthink these things, we must just take in as much as we can and surrender and try and do our best to do the service, to serve Guru and Krishna. And with that, we will find that our journey is much easier. It's easier for us to traverse. It is fine to think. There's nothing wrong with thinking. That is part of the process. This is a safe process, a safe space to share those things. But it is exactly that, as it's when we step out there, out of this space, and go in there to do service, then we must just do our best. Lord Shri Krishna does the rest, and we'll be fine. Everything will be fine. It doesn't matter. It's not about being politically correct or anything like that. It's overthinking this. It is right. It's time, place, and circumstances. We will be put into the place that is suitable for us to do our service for Guru and Krishna. Anyhow, Hare Krishna. I just thought I'll share that. But thank you very much for everything. Hare Krishna.
Jai. Rupanuga Luke. You
Hare
said.
Krishna, may I respond to Rupanuga
Yes,
Prabhu?
please. Yes, Mother. Yes.
Haribol Rupanuga Prabhu. Thank you. And everybody's contribution is valued and respected, because that's mood and mission of Srila Prabhupada. And so given that, absolutely, I agree with what you're sharing. However, I do want to make a point. I've been practicing Krishna consciousness now for, I don't exactly know the amount of years, but it's over 45 years. And I can really say that in those 45 years, we were mentioning to just do our best, right? Try and do our best. And then my Guru adds, Krishna will do the rest. Of course, and you said that too. So yes, in those 45 years, I'm guessing I could have definitely done better. But however, according to my level of understanding and realization during those 45 years, I've done my best. However, given that I've done my best, one of the things that comes up for me in doing my best is studying Prabhupada's books, studying Srila Prabhupada's books, and also caring about the people in the world for me to share what I've read in Srila Prabhupada's books. So oftentimes I have to step out of my safe space of having faith and trust and love with what Srila Prabhupada has shared with us, by hearing some of the things that I've heard in the books, by reading some of the things I've read in the books. And so because of that caring for other people, I have had to myself personally explore myself, look at myself and see how am I personally affected by some of these things that have been spoken. And I can say during my journey in Krishna consciousness, I have definitely been affected in some ways. My mind, not me, my mind has been affected. And so in order to really understand my own mind, and in terms of applying my intelligence to my mind, then I've had to pursue ways that could help me, because just by reading Srila Prabhupada's books and chanting Hare Krishna, somehow my mind would still intervene. And really, it's when I started understanding more about hermeneutics and how to understand some of these points Srila Prabhupada made that have given me a more clear embracing, if you will, of some of these points that Srila Prabhupada has made, and made me able to try to explain from my best understanding to other people. So thank you, thank you, thank you. I really appreciate your sharing. Thank you very much. Hari Bol. Okay, Sahadev. Prabhu.
Yeah, Hare Krishna. Mitravendra, are you available? Are you back? Anna, did you
yes, I am here. I am
Okay,
here.
go ahead. All right, please go ahead, Mitra.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much,
Hare
Mother
Krishna.
VRAJALILA, for your perspectives, and everyone else. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
So there's so much to be unpacked and to also be put away regarding the aspect of colors. Every crayon in the crayon box is valuable to the person who is desiring to create, to spread the beauty and increase the beauty of the world. It cannot be denied that the use of colors as a way to traumatize and belittle people systemically is an issue. We cannot deny that from a spiritual perspective. I think it's actually, it would be a sad thing if we did that in the name of Krishna consciousness or bhakti. Because if our objective is to care, then we have to understand the suffering or things that people go through as well. Race or using colors to determine whether someone has value or not, again, has been a tool of a pain and suffering. So there are many things in the world that look a certain way, as we know from our Shastra. Kali Yuga, this point in this world is very much opposites. It is, what is this phrase? Perverted reflection. It means what we see is not what really is. White is black, black is white, up is down, down is up, good is bad, bad is good. So there's so many perspectives that are actually opposite, and they're presented that way in order to take us off track, right? So when we're considering hues of bodies that encase the soul, we should understand that Krishna does not make any mistakes, and we are created by Krishna. And what we do with ourselves energetically spiritually and physically, is upon us. But we should not look at people as objectively as the world does. We shouldn't do that in our society, and we should actually be an example for the world at large on how to deal in a way that's effective. There's so many things. You know, in India, dark people are not accepted by other Indians. In the world, a person with the dark complexion is not accepted and told that they're less than, and so many different things. And then scientifically, medically, there's so many things that say pigmentation is actually a norm and beneficial, and anything else is actually an abnormality. So the aspect of perverted reflection is there in that. But if we're all dealing with each other as parts and parcels with our own aspects of imperfection and wonderfulness, then as we serve Krishna and respect each other's desire to serve God and call God's names by whatever name is chosen of free will, which is also a tenet of this process, then we can actually, you know, drive better in our vehicles to the destination. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Mitravinda. And I think Mother VRAJALILA, if you may round up so we may allow you to engage in other things you do to engage in. You're always busy. Thank you so much for spending this much time with us today. Of course, as always.
Thank
Hare
you,
Krishna.
Saha. So I'm going to speak above the noise because we are getting some work done downstairs. And
Please
so
don't
the
forget,
noise.
don't forget Anadinidanam because you give us chance to speak.
Oh,
Please don't
very
forget.
good.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you're right, Prabhuji. And I did it, yes. Mother, do you still have a couple more minutes?
Absolutely. I must
Okay.
hear Anand.
And I didn't know, Prabhu, please. My apologies. Please, you may unmute and go ahead to speak whether there's a question or comment, please.
Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Hare
Well,
Krishna.
so, but listen, they say we don't correct acharyas, but rather we have to interpret them. That is what we are trying to do here. So my question is, looking at the problem that we are having here, based on the test that we are taking today, isn't the need that if you say some of the Prabhupada's disciples, I mean, that books, if you agree with them, that is my question to Mother.
We didn't get what you were saying. If you can repeat, you were breaking up.
Okay. Am I audible enough now? Can you hear me
Yes,
properly now?
yes, yeah. Yeah, you may go ahead.
Is my network okay now? I think where I am now.
Yes, we can hear you.
What I mean is, quite remember one of the Prabhupada's disciples who came on this platform. He said, we don't correct acharyas, but rather we interpret what they say. And that is what exactly Mother is trying to do. But my question then is, just because of this kind of problem that we are having today, for the sake of future, isn't that we should agree with some of the Prabhupada's disciples who said some of the Prabhupada's book, or what he said in some of the books, they need to rewrite them again. That is what I'm asking Mother. Does he have the same view that because of the future sake, some of these things that we are seeing today, in order not to create problems tomorrow, we should agree with some of the Prabhupada disciples who said some of the things Prabhupada said, we should rewrite them?
Mother Right, did you get his question?
I did, and I'm going to
Okay,
try to
thank
answer
you.
this
Okay,
quickly before the drilling starts again.
okay.
So thank you, Nandini Prabhu. In that committee that we had, that actually we visited race relations, that we presented to the GBC. What was suggested, and I believe somebody else here on this platform, or this Rupanuga Prabhu. So on this platform, somebody else suggested that today, is that and that we write some commentaries in or like footnotes to clarify some of these statements in Prabhupada's books. And we met with Giriraj Maharaj together, our committee, and Giriraj Maharaj also said some of these things need to be taken out. So that's there. I do want to express that Srila Prabhupada disciples, they have different views, which is why this hermeneutics was presented, just to help to create more peace and balance, because some disciples think by you even saying anything about Srila Prabhupada's purport is criticizing Srila Prabhupada. There are others that may not think like that. So there isn't a cohesive unit that really all agree that it's important to address some of these. However, we had meetings with Hridayananda Maharaj, we had meetings with Giriraj Maharaj, we had meetings with so many of the spiritual masters. We had a spiritual master that requested us to make a committee to address these topics. So the best we all came up with was to write some commentaries on some of these statements that there are many that are made that need to be explored, and we need to just talk about them in a way that we have integrity with Srila Prabhupada. People confuse questioning and even maybe doubting some statements with, vilifying Srila Prabhupada, but that's not the case. Yeah, we are simply trying to understand our Siddhanta. That's what Prabhupada came to give us, is the Siddhanta. Everything else is like a detail. That is social. It's a social construct, and we live in the world that's socially constructed. So we need to know how to address that. That's as best as I can offer. But I thank Kamaniya. Kamaniya is a lovely, lovely devotee that is always balanced. And one of the reasons we love her is because she has been a person that really do her best, as Rupanuga Prabhu says, to not really deal with people on the bodily platform as best as she can. I've always had that experience with her, and I thank her for that so very much. I thank Mitravinda for always being an intelligent personality that speaks out with her truth and her realization. I thank Leela because Leela is, as you all know, she gives classes here, and she was giving classes here. I don't know what happened, but anyway, hopefully, prayerfully, she will come back and give classes.
Die.
As you can hear from her, she's always, she got the scale of making sure we stay on track with being respectful and being caring for each other. And all the devotees that's on the call, each one of you is a valuable gem. And for me to come here and be with all of you, I hear from all of you, I take it in. Sahadev, thank you. Salika, thank you. I just really, really want to say this. We're a family here, and we need to just talk about these things. We just need to talk about them. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you so much, Mother VRAJALILA, for dealing with this seemingly controversial issue, but it shouldn't be. But we are in the material world, so it is for some people. What I would like to say is that I am fortunate that my guru was in a black body, and he was in this movement. And he did like quote unquote sacrifice his life to serving Srila Prabhupada because of the love Srila Prabhupada has for him. So Srila Prabhupada loved him first, and then he loved Srila Prabhupada. So it's a testament and example for me also to love Srila Prabhupada. And Srila Prabhupada himself teaches us, in order for us to learn how to write, speak, and read, we have to know our alphabets. In order for us to do arithmetic and further on do mathematics, we need to know our numerals. And the numerals and alphabets and spiritual life is we are not this body. Once we miss this, our spiritual life is finished. So once we understand that we are not this body, then we can make headway. But unfortunately, some of us are still on that level that we think we are the body. So once we are on that platform, it's going to make things difficult. So we pray that the Lord helps us all to rise above this skin disease and come to the level that we are not this body and we relate with people on the level of the soul. It's easier said than done, but it is possible. So this is our prayer to the Parampara. Hare Krishna.
Saha, I also want to
Hare Krishna.
conclude with that beautiful statement you just made. And by saying that it's a practical process for us to do this, and agreeing with Rupanuga and everybody on this platform, that our senses need to be purified, and that comes through chanting and hearing with our senses, so purify our conditioned senses, because until that, as you're saying, yeah, what do we, we're gonna be stuck, right? Well, in these different mindsets of how our mind keeps us distracted. And we can only understand this through logic, reason, exemplary character, and mercy from the Parampara. Mercy. That's the only way. So, my dear friends, thank you again. Hare Krishna.
Hare
Okay.
Krishna. Thank you so much. So at this point, we're going to humbly request all, sorry.
Dance party.
We're going to humbly request all the devotees to kindly unmute and we all chant the loudest, melodious Hare Krishna Mahamantra to express our appreciation to Hare Speaker Grace Mother VRAJALILA Devi.
Haribol.
Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Rama,
Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Pancha Kalpatarigya
Mother VRAJALILA Devi Dasaki,